to help him think about what he did do.
What question would you ask?
What strategy did you use to keep the child engaged in the conversation?
Okay, that's one thing. So we already know that he's planning to use the talk strategy. That's a clear goal.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Yes.
My first question would be, how do you feel it went?
Okay, how do you feel it went? All right, so she's drawing out the emotion as a question. Anyone else? How did you say you were going to start yours? Yes.
I would start with a PDA, a positive descriptor acknowledgement.
Okay.
Really commend him and be very clear
What
about
would it-
what he
what
did.
would it be,
So
though?
you were very intentional with asking follow-up questions to the children to engage their conversation.
Mhm.
When you do this, so when you engage them in conversation, it allows them to learn about the methods of conversation.
Right.
So when you keep doing this, it encourages them to keep talking and to learn effective language strategies.
Right.
So I know that we were working on the top strategy and
Right.
the guy would lead in. So how did it feel for you?
Okay. All right, anyone else before I chime in? No? Nobody else? No takers? Anyone said something different in your group? Yes.
We talked about maybe lifting more language,
Okay,
language modeling.
Right.
Like when the young man was said, now he was very specific. It was F-150.
Right.
Ram, and he said car, but he said truck.
right.
And he said, you know, he could have went into more detail,
Mhm.
descriptive. Well, who makes that? Ford makes it, you know.
Okay.
And what other colors does that truck come in? So
Right.
he could have built a little more.
Right. Great observation, because that was the work. Ralph was really effective at the T
Yeah.
and was moving into the A.
Right.
His learning lift
Yeah.
was to step into that L. Clearly, that was a great observation. So almost in every coaching session I have, when they watch themselves and they get used to it, I ask everybody the same two questions, every team. What worked for you in this video?
Yep.
As a teacher, so Maria, Lori, and Siobhan are a teaching team. We just watched Lori. So here's the expectation that they're clear from. We're going to watch a video of all three of them. So here you're watching Ralph, you're going to watch Linda, and you're going to watch Cindy. They all watch each other's videos together. So every time we watch a video, Ralph has to respond to his video, Cindy and Linda. When they watch Linda's video, the same cycle happens. Everybody has to share. This is their meeting. I'm simply asking questions. And the first question is, what worked for you? Or what worked for the teacher in this video? The follow-up question is, what worked for the children? Because sometimes what works for the teacher does not work for the children. And sometimes what works for the children does not work for the teacher. They're very basic questions, but they can hit you everywhere. What worked for you in this video? The second question that I often ask, probably 85% of the time, both of these questions, if this experience happened again, what would you do differently? If you sat with these kids at the table and was tuning in at 9 o'clock in the morning, what would you do differently? Those questions typically take up the whole coaching hour. The other questions, seriously, they do. Because I'm repeating the question for everybody's video and everybody's sharing, and it's their feedback to each other that I attach myself to, and then I ask that follow-up question based on the strategy or the goal that they've adopted. Yes?
And one thing I was observing is those kids were engaged in what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Play-Doh, right?
Right.
Play-Doh. I probably would have just picked up the rolling pin and started, because even though he was asking questions, it's almost like you had to shake him off. Well, what do you think? What do you have a little boy? Oh, you have a brother or sister.
Right.
But they were engaged, so I probably would have engaged.
Well, Ralph used some, did you all notice he
Yeah.
used some, there were a few things he did that makes that, which makes the tuning in, because tuning in is just another way of noticing. We all want to be noticed in the world. He's noticing those children. He did a few things that were simple, but they were powerful. He got close to them and touched them. What were you going to say?
He called them by name.
Yes.
By name, and
When
then
he went
would
around the
touch them.
table, he called everybody by their name, which says, I see you and I honor you and I validate you. So, right, and he did not start with questions. He started by tuning in. Tuning in is not asking questions. Tuning in is rebuilding rapport. The same thing you're doing with teachers the teacher has to do with children when they come back to school. Rebuild rapport. Have you ever walked up to children and started asking them questions and they just looked at you and didn't answer? Because what they're really saying was, I just got here. Like, asking me all these questions, tuning in, put some distancing. I'm just noticing what Lori, Shimon, and Maria are doing. And I'm making a comment on what they're doing. Then I'm going to come back in the next cycle and ask some open-ended questions. When the children respond, then I attach myself. I see your hand, Megan. I attach myself to that to keep that feedback loop going and going. Did you notice something else Ralph did?
Birthing order, he knew.
He knew about their families.
Yes, their families.
Yes, Anj.
He engaged the child who's 6 months of age.
Talk about that some more.